Hello and welcome to Not Your LGS. Today we're going to be doing an Arakni deck tech, specifically focusing on Arakni Huntsman. Even though Arakni Marionette and Arakni Slip Through the Cracks seem to be more powerful cards, we don't have a lot of gameplay yet to validify these claims. Let's get right into the video, starting with equipment. Spider's Bite is Arakni's signature weapon, and threatening attack actions on the defense side makes it one of the better daggers. But we are also running Scale Peeler for decks that like to block with equipment rather than cards from hand, and Nerve Scalpel for other Assassin or Warrior matchups. As another offhand option, we're running Arcane Lantern for the Arcane Barrier ability for Wizards and Runeblade matchups. For our head slot, we're running Mask of Perdition as an option to make additional silver on our contract attacks hitting. For our chest, we're running Faendale's Spring Tunic for the instant speed resources. For our arms, we have Flick Knives to respond to opponents' blocking, just to help us guarantee the hit. And for our legs, we're running Black Tech Whispers for the Go Again option. Let's get right into the deck list. Starting off, we have 2 copies of Leave No Witness. Being a pseudo Command and Conquer that threatens Arsenal means most opponents will block it, getting cards out of their hands, and if they don't, we banish a card in their arsenal and from the top of their library. And with targeting red cards, it proves to be one of the more useful assassin attacks, being able to hit a broad spectrum of cards. Speaking of useful assassin cards, the next card in our list is 2 copies of Surgical Extraction. Targeting blue cards and the opponent's hand forces them to decide what to block with, because if they don't, we get to banish a card from their hand that might break their tempo on their turn. Next up in my list is 2 copies of Plunder the Poor, which I use as a dedicated slot to switch around cards in my inventory. The Plunder the Poors are focused on other assassin matchups, running lower cost cards, but we also have Oasis Respites in our inventory to switch in for damage prevention and life gain. I'm also running in this slot 1 copy of each Frailty and Inertia Trap as additional defense reactions. We follow this up with 4 copies of Shred, 2 red, 2 yellow, being able to target all cards defending our assassin attacks and weakening their defense. We then have 2 copies of each red and blue Annihilate the Armed. Targeting a card type in every deck, it's very versatile and gives a higher chance of completing a contract. Speaking of cards that target cards in every deck, we have, again, 2 copies of each red and blue Slay the Scholars. Once again, this is a very useful card that has a greater chance of banishing cards compared to some of the other contract cards. Now let's talk about another great attack reaction with 2 copies of Cut to the Chase, giving our contract cards a buff and allowing us to once again manipulate the top card of our opponent's deck. Now for a card that enables us to have really big turns and setup for the next 2 cards with contract, we have Coercive Tendency, giving our assassin attacks Go Again on a completed contract and allowing us to rearrange the top 3 cards of our opponent's deck, meaning we can guarantee our other contracts for the turn. We now move on from our contract-focused cards to some more stealth cards and stealth-related reactions. Starting off with 2 copies of Persuasive Prognosis, another card that threatens turn disruption by removing a card from their hand, and with the added bonus of some life gain that can really help us against those more aggressive decks. One of the best stealth-aimed attack reactions is up next with 2 copies of Just a Nick. Allowing us to choose both on our blue stealth attack means it can turn something that doesn't seem like a lot into a powerhouse for the turn. Now, another card that's in our switch slot, we have 2 copies of Art of Desire Mind. This slot is if you want to put in both the Oasis Respite and the traps, or leave in the Plunder the Poors and any combination of the other cards. We then move on to 2 blue Double Troubles. This is a card that you want to save your reactions for so you get the most out of it. We then have a similar card being 2 copies of blue Pick to Pieces. Having a similar ability, but a little easier to pull off, means that we can use one of our reactions on this card and then save the other few for later. Another reaction on this list is 2 copies of Spreading Plague, punishing people for defending with cards and still trying to get some extra damage on their turn, as well as prevent them from doing too much on their turn so they can pay for the Blood Rot Pox. 2 copies of Codex of Frailty come up next on our list, presenting an opportunity to grab one of our best attacks from our graveyard and both creating a Ponder token under our control and a Frailty token under our opponent's. Drawing close to the end of this list, we have 2 copies of Looking for Scraps, allowing us to banish our stealth cards for additional bonuses. And finally, our last card is 2 copies of Fate Foreseen, one of my favorite generic defense reactions, giving us a leg up on our next end phase and defending for 4. Now, let's get into some gameplay. Okay, so we're here on Talistar. I waited around for about 6 minutes waiting for a live person, and I just wasn't getting a match. It's probably just the time of day I'm playing. It's kind of a weird time. So we're going to go ahead and get our equipment set up. I'm just going to use Spider's Bite and Nerve Scalpel. I've got Mask of Perdition, Farandal Spring Tunic, Flick Knives, and Black Tech Whispers equipped. And because this is against the practice stall, we're taking it a little more aggressive. We don't have our defense reactions or Oasis Respites in the deck. So let's just jump right in. If I remember correctly, the practice doll doesn't fight back. But now we seem to be having some issues loading the match. That's always wonderful. I wonder what happened there. So we just hit back. We're gonna... Did it somehow kick me back to the live player? That's weird. I don't think I've ever seen it do this. But we are stuck in a loading screen. I'm just going to reload the page. Bear with me. Okay, and we're back to Data Doll. Okay. Going to play that. And we're going to pitch Slay the Scholars. I didn't... Sure. I don't know. I didn't sync anything. This is something about... Oh, it's what I hit off the top of their deck. But it should have went to the bottom, not to the graveyard. So we're looking for blue cards, so we're going to hit Throttle off of it. We're going to Arsenal one of these Shreds, and we're going to draw back up to hand size. They're coming at us for 2. We're going to defend with our Mask of Perdition and Black Tech Whispers. We're going to pass our block. Okay, so they didn't have any further attacks. We do have 2 silver already. Good to go. We are going to... We're going to try and get a Bonds of Agony to hit. Just because we have 3 shreds available. So we are going to... I feel like Spider's Bite is going to be really useful here. So we're going to pitch that to Spider's Bite. And if we can hit with it, we're not going to react. So we're then going to Bonds of Agony. And I think Mask of Perdition. They're not blocking, so let's just go ahead and pass. Yep, so it went ahead and chose for us on that banish, which is weird. We're not going to block the Tusk this time. We're just going to take the 2. We don't have a reaction, so we're going to go ahead and pass. We're going to go ahead and grab our Mask of Perdition back. We're going to go ahead and try for Plunder the Poor. And then I think we're going to try and give it go again with our Black Tech Whispers. And then go to hit with Art of Desire Mind. So let's go Plunder the Poor. Yes, we're going to sink the red. Then pass. We're going to Black Tech Whispers, pass. It'll get go again. We're going to Mask of Perdition. So we got 2 blues off of it. One of them had cost 2 or less, so Art of Desire Mind might have been better to play first, but we're going to go ahead and go in with our Art of Desire Mind now. We're not going to react just because they're not going to block. We did get another blue card, so we will gain a life off of it. And we drew a card. However, it does not have go again, so unfortunately, nothing will happen. We're going to move to our end of turn. Oh, we got an Annihilate the Armed, which should be good because we're going to take the 2. Well, we'll block with a Shred. Pass. Now, just because this is very dull gameplay, I think I will probably finish off this turn. We're going to grab our Black Tech Whispers back just for the go again. I haven't been able to get that Shred out of my arsenal because I haven't been blocking with anything. So it's had no legal targets, which I would be using Codex of Frailty to grab back our Surgical Extraction or our Bonds of Agony. But because we haven't been able to get that out of our arsenal, we haven't been able to target either of them. And we'll never be able to target either of them. We'll pitch the red Shred because we're not using it anyway. We want that because that is an attack. So we will pass. We have no reactions. Pass. We'll banish a zipper hit. We'll get another silver. And then we'll pass to end of turn. Ooh, we did get our Leave No Witness. They don't have a card in Arsenal. They won't ever have a card in Arsenal. So I do believe we'll call it here. I'm sorry for the dull gameplay. I just couldn't find another player. But thank you all for joining me. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.